It was a quiet afternoon in St. Mercy Hospital, the kind of quiet that made the hum of machines sound louder than usual. The hallway smelled of medicine and floor polish. Nurses moved quickly but softly, checking patients and adjusting monitors. Room 407 was just another room on the list, yet inside it lay a story no one would ever forget. On the bed lay a 12-year-old girl named Emily Carter. For 3 months, she had been asleep, trapped in a deep coma after a terrible accident. Her parents, Michael and Sarah, visited her every single day. They talked to her, brushed her hair, and played her favorite music, hoping she could somehow hear them. The doctors had said that her chances of waking up were very small, but the Carters refused to give up. Every morning, Sarah would bring fresh flowers, and Michael would read a chapter from Emily's favorite storybook. "Maybe she hears us," Sarah would whisper. "Maybe she's just waiting for the right moment." But every night they left the hospital with heavy hearts, wondering if their little girl would ever open her eyes again. That same week, something strange began to happen just outside the hospital gates. A large German shepherd appeared near the parking lot. He was clean but thin, his fur dusty and his eyes bright. He wore an old leather collar with no tag. The guard at the front tried to chase him away, but the dog didn't run. He sat down and stared at the entrance, as if waiting for permission to go inside. By the next morning, the dog was still there. When a delivery worker opened the door, the shepherd suddenly stood up and slipped inside without anyone noticing. He trotted confidently down the hallway, nose to the ground, tail wagging slightly. The hospital was not a place for pets, and several nurses gasped when they saw a big dog walking past the waiting area. "Whose dog is this?" one of them called out, but the shepherd didn't stop. He kept moving, as if he already knew exactly where he needed to be. When the elevator door opened, he walked in calmly beside a young nurse named Lily. She blinked in surprise. "Well, you're polite," she said with a smile. "Going up?" The dog gave a small bark. Lily laughed nervously and pressed the top floor button. "Maybe you belong to someone up there?" she said, shaking her head. As soon as the elevator reached the 4th floor, the shepherd darted out and ran straight down the hall. His paws clicked softly on the tile floor. He stopped now and then to sniff the doors, moving faster each time, until he reached room 407. He barked once, low and steady, and then pawed gently at the door. Inside, Sarah was half asleep in the chair beside her daughter's bed. Michael was standing by the window, staring at the rain that had just started outside. When they heard the scratching, both looked toward the door. Sarah opened it slowly and gasped. A big German shepherd stood there, soaked from the drizzle, eyes calm but determined. "Where did you come from?" she said softly. The dog stepped forward, tail moving gently, and walked straight toward Emily's bed. Michael started to stop him, but something about the dog made him hesitate. There was no fear, only purpose in the animal's eyes. The shepherd sniffed the blanket, then placed his head carefully on Emily's hand and let out a quiet whine. Sarah covered her mouth in surprise. "It's like he knows her," she whispered. Just then, Nurse Lily appeared behind them, a little out of breath. "I'm sorry, he ran away from me. I didn't want him to get lost in the wards." But before she could take him out, something changed on the monitor beside the bed. Emily's heart rate flickered, only a small jump, but noticeable. Michael looked at the screen, confused. "Did you see that?" he asked. Lily frowned, checking the numbers again. Her vitals just went up slightly. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "It happened when he touched her hand," she whispered. Dr. Hughes, the neurologist in charge of Emily's care, came in a few minutes later after hearing the commotion. He was known for being serious, never emotional. When he saw the dog lying quietly beside the bed, he frowned. "What is going on here?" he asked. Lily quickly explained how the dog had entered the building. Dr. Hughes was about to order him removed when he noticed the readings on Emily's monitor. Her breathing had become steadier, her pulse stronger. He raised his eyebrows. "That's interesting," he murmured. The dog lifted his head and looked directly at him, calm and steady. Dr. Hughes hesitated, then sighed. "All right. Let him stay for a while," he said finally. "Maybe it's just coincidence, but there's no harm in observing." For the rest of the afternoon, the shepherd didn't move from Emily's side. He rested his head on her blanket and closed his eyes, as if keeping guard. Sarah sat near him, gently stroking his fur. "Thank you for being here," she whispered. By evening, even the nurses were talking about the mysterious dog in room 407. They started calling him Shadow because of the way he followed the nurses who entered, never letting anyone too close to Emily unless he trusted them. He would lie down quietly whenever Sarah or Michael came near, as if he understood they were family. As the day turned to night, the hospital lights dimmed and the halls grew silent. Michael stayed back in the chair, too tired to go home. He woke up once during the night and saw Shadow still awake, head up, eyes glowing faintly in the soft light. The dog looked from Emily to the door and back again, alert but peaceful. Michael smiled weakly. "You're watching over her, aren't you?" he whispered. Shadow wagged his tail once, as if to say yes. The next morning, Dr. Hughes returned with new test results. Emily's brain activity had slightly improved overnight. It wasn't a miracle, but it was progress, something they hadn't seen in weeks. The doctor looked puzzled. "I can't explain this," he admitted. "Her condition has been stable for months, and now something's stimulating her." Sarah smiled faintly and looked at Shadow. "Maybe he's the reason." Word spread quickly through the hospital. Patients and nurses stopped by the doorway to catch a glimpse of the dog, who had somehow found a little girl no one else could reach. People began bringing him food and water. He accepted it politely, but never left Emily's side. Over the next few days, Shadow became part of everyone's routine. The cleaning staff would talk to him in the mornings, and children from the pediatric ward would wave from the hallway. The dog always wagged his tail, but never stepped outside room 407. Sarah and Michael started feeling hope for the first time in months. Every night, Sarah whispered prayers of thanks. "Please let this be the sign we've been waiting for," she would say, holding Emily's hand while Shadow rested nearby. On the 7th morning since his arrival, something remarkable happened. Shadow, who had been lying quietly on the floor, suddenly lifted his head and began to whine softly. His ears perked and his eyes focused on Emily's face. Sarah looked up from her chair. "What is it, boy?" she asked gently. The dog stood, placed his front paws on the edge of the bed, and nudged Emily's arm with his nose. The movement was gentle but firm, like he was trying to wake her. Then, to everyone's shock, Emily's fingers twitched. Sarah gasped. "Michael!" She moved. Michael rushed to her side, his hands trembling. Emily's hand twitched again, then stilled. The monitor beeped faster for a few seconds, then steadied. Nurse Lily ran to call the doctor. Dr. Hughes came running, disbelief on his face. "What happened?" "She moved," Sarah said breathlessly. "She really moved." The doctor examined Emily, checking her eyes and pulse. "It's faint, but it's there," he confirmed. He looked at the dog, still standing by the bed, tail wagging gently. "Whatever you did, keep doing it," he said softly. For the rest of the day, Shadow stayed right beside her, occasionally licking her hand or laying his head near her arm. That night, Sarah didn't sleep at all. She just watched the strange bond between her daughter and the dog who had come from nowhere. When the nurses dimmed the lights, Shadow curled up next to the bed and closed his eyes. still facing Emily as if guarding her dreams. And as the monitors glowed softly in the dark room, something deep inside Emily's mind stirred again like a faint spark coming back to life. When the morning sun touched the window of room 407, the soft golden light fell on Emily's face. Her eyelids fluttered a little, as if they were trying to wake up after a very long dream. Sarah, who had been dozing in the chair beside her, woke up to the faint sound of movement. She rubbed her eyes, looked at her daughter, and froze. Emily's fingers were slowly moving again. Sarah leaned forward, her heart beating fast. "Emily, sweetheart, can you hear me?" she whispered. The dog beside the bed, Shadow, lifted his head too. His tail moved softly. He stood up, leaned closer, and gently licked Emily's hand. For a moment, the room felt completely still. Then, with a weak sound, Emily's lips moved. "Doggy," she whispered. Sarah gasped and covered her mouth. Her tears fell before she could stop them. She reached for the call button and shouted for help, her voice trembling. She spoke. My daughter spoke. Doctors and nurses rushed in. Dr. Hughes came first, disbelief on his face. He quickly checked Emily's eyes, pulse, and breathing. "Emily, can you hear me?" he asked gently. Emily's eyes opened a little. They were sleepy and confused, but they looked around slowly. Then they landed on Shadow, who was now sitting proudly beside the bed, tail thumping lightly. Emily smiled weakly. "He came for me," she said softly. Sarah started to cry again, this time with joy. "Yes, sweetheart, he did. He's been here every day." Michael came running into the room a few minutes later after hearing the news. When he saw Emily awake, his knees almost gave out. He held her hand and kissed her forehead. "You did it, baby," he whispered. "You came back to us." Dr. Hughes watched with a mix of amazement and confusion. "This is extraordinary," he said quietly. "Her condition was stable for months. Then this dog arrived, and everything changed." For the next few hours, the hospital was filled with excitement. Nurses came to see the little girl who woke up after months in a coma, and the mysterious German shepherd who never left her side. Everyone wanted to meet Shadow, but he stayed close to Emily, gentle and calm, as if guarding her from the world. Emily's recovery amazed everyone. Within a few days, she could sit up and speak longer sentences. The doctor said her progress was faster than they expected. But what caught everyone's attention was what Emily said whenever someone asked her about her dreams during the coma. "I was lost," she told them. "Everything was dark, and I couldn't find my way. But then I heard a dog barking far away. When I followed the sound, I saw him, Shadow. He was glowing. He showed me the way out. He brought me home." The nurses exchanged surprised looks each time she said that. It gave them chills, and it was beautiful in its own way. Sarah would hug her daughter and whisper, "That's because he's your angel." As the days passed, the bond between Emily and Shadow grew stronger. Whenever she laughed, Shadow wagged his tail. When she slept, he curled up at her feet. The hospital staff made a small bed for him near hers. Even patients in other rooms felt comfort just knowing he was around. They called him the miracle dog. Reporters soon heard about Emily's story. One morning, a few of them came to the hospital, asking to speak with the family. The story spread across the town. The dog who woke a girl from a coma. People were touched by the kindness of an unknown dog who seemed to understand love and hope better than most humans. But there was still one mystery no one could solve. Where did he come from? When Emily got a little stronger, her parents decided to take him to a nearby vet for a health check. The vet was kind and gentle. He looked at the dog's teeth, fur, and paws, then stopped when he noticed something inside Shadow's ear. "That's strange," he said quietly. "He has a small tattoo mark. That's a service dog ID." Sarah blinked. A service dog? You mean he worked for someone? Yes, the vet replied. These are used for dogs trained in the military or rescue service. Let me check the record. He typed the number into his computer, then frowned in confusion. This can't be right, he whispered. This ID belongs to a German shepherd named Rex, a military dog from a rescue unit. He passed away 2 years ago during a mission overseas. Sarah felt a chill run through her. That can't be him, she said softly. He's right here. He's alive. The vet shook his head slowly. I'm only telling you what the record says. Michael looked at Shadow, who sat quietly beside Emily, his eyes calm and deep. Maybe some things don't need an explanation, he said gently. When they told Dr. Hughes later, he just smiled in wonder. Perhaps, he said, some souls return to help those who still need them. Over the next few weeks, Emily's strength came back completely. She started walking again, holding on to her mother's hand, and always with Shadow walking proudly beside her. The hospital decided to make an exception and let Shadow stay until Emily was discharged. He became a hero in every hallway. Even the most serious doctors stopped to pet him. One evening, as the family prepared to take Emily home, Shadow sat quietly near the window. The setting sun painted the room orange and gold. Emily leaned on her pillow, smiling at him. You're coming home with us, she said happily. You'll sleep next to my bed forever. Shadow wagged his tail but didn't move. That night, Emily slept peacefully for the first time in months. But when the morning came, the chair beside her bed was empty. The blanket where Shadow usually slept was untouched. Sarah looked around the room. Where is he? She whispered. They searched the hallways, the garden, even the parking lot, but he was gone. No one had seen him leave. The window near Emily's bed was slightly open, the curtains fluttering softly in the breeze. Emily didn't cry. She sat quietly for a long time and then smiled faintly. He had to go, she said. He finished what he came for. Her parents hugged her, tears in their eyes. They knew she was right. Somehow, they all felt peace in their hearts, a kind of peace that words couldn't describe. Months later, Emily returned to school. She talked often about the dog who saved her. Her story spread across the country, inspiring people everywhere. Letters and drawings came from children who said they wished they could meet Shadow too. Years passed, and Emily grew up healthy and strong. She never forgot him. When she turned 25, she decided to become a nurse and joined the very same hospital that once saved her life. On her first day of work, she walked down the hallway that led to room 407. She paused outside, smiling softly. It was empty now, freshly painted, but the memories still lived inside those walls. She walked in, closed her eyes for a moment, and whispered, "Thank you." That night, when she worked the late shift, the hospital was quiet again. She sat at her desk writing notes when she heard something faint down the hall, a soft sound of paws walking slowly on the tile floor. She froze, listening carefully. The sound grew closer, steady and familiar. Then came a quiet, gentle bark, just once. Emily smiled through tears. She didn't need to turn around. "I know you're here," she whispered. "I'll be fine now." The sound faded, but her heart felt warm, full of love and peace. She knew Shadow would always be near, not as a dog people could see, but as a presence that protected her in silence. From that day on, room 407 was known as the Miracle Room. Nurses often said they felt something comforting there, especially when children were scared or patients were weak. Some said they had even seen a shadow shaped like a dog resting near the bed. When the lights were low, Emily never tried to explain it. She simply smiled and said, "He's still doing his job." And somewhere beyond the walls of the hospital, under the stars, a German shepherd with gentle eyes walked quietly into the night. Proud of the life he had saved, and the family he had healed.